Guys, Logan, we're sorry to interrupt the internet, but the storm in New York City is one of epic proportions. Let's go straight to the field with Kane, who's waiting in Times Square. Kane?
Thank you, Logan. Reporting from Times Square. It's an absolute nightmare down here. Wind is coming from every which direction. It's coming in around the buildings. The damage is potentially catastrophic. They're thinking of stopping the New Year's Eve ball drop ceremony because they're afraid that the ball in the tower is actually going to be thrown off the building. This is going to be absolutely horrendous. What? I'm losing the signal. Kane, back to you.
All right, you're watching the Blizzard edition of The Tech, coming to you live from bright and sunny nowhere, really. It's not sunny and bright anywhere in the world. When it snows in America, it snows everywhere, they say.
Except in this studio, it's really bright in here.
Yeah. Wendell, how's that snow doing?
It's Category 3 Killstorm levels of insanity.
Would you say that you are snowed in?
I'm definitely snowed in, yes.
Well, if you ever get snowed in North Korea, it does snow there, I think. I'm not sure. I heard that they have the best snow ever. In fact, I was reading one of their newspapers recently. They have the #1 ski slope in the world. They also have the current ski jump champion lives there, gold medalist. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, it's 100% true. Anyway, they've developed a new hangover-free alcohol made out of ginseng and like a rice gluten, I believe it is. Where is it? What's it made out of? I've forgotten already.
That's because you didn't have a hangover. So, we drank the crap out of this stuff yesterday. So the Koryo liquor. Yeah, it's gluten. Yes, just what I said, ginseng and glutinous rice. So they say that the rice replaces the sugar in the process, and yeah, hangover-free. It's about 40% alcohol, 30 to 40% alcohol, and I don't. How do you test that? I mean, here's the thing I always kind of chuckle about is even right now with all the wonderful science that we know, we do not have a definitive answer as to what actually causes a hangover.
I can cure it though. Bananas and 4 glasses of water, 2 vitamin B's and vitamin D, a little bit of goat blood, and it'll be gone. Easy.
I have a really great solution to hangovers, and it's just keep drinking. I mean, that's what they tell you, right? Just keep drinking. Wake up, drink.
You won't be hungover when you're dead.
You won't be dead. You'll just be perpetually drunk.
Until you're dead.
That only happens one time.
I saw a documentary once. I don't remember what it was about. Probably not this. Anyway, so yeah, Wendell, would you drink that if you could not get a hangover? Would you drink this? I don't believe it though. Not for 1 second.
I'm of the school that don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So hangover, no hangover doesn't really bother me.
Oh man. But you look so cool when you sit in the corner sipping on something, smoking 7 things at the same time, brooding.
It's awfully, it's sort of a hipster drink, I guess. It's going to be really popular at like New York nightclubs. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have this with my carrot raisin martini something. I don't know.
And then they're going to take it to London, and they're going to put on masks and figure out how to inhale the damn thing, because that's what they do over there. We're driving the culture of the world. It happens there first, and then in L.A., and then in New York, and then the rest of the world. Everything starts in London, and you heard it here first. Wait a second, that didn't start in London. Let's move on. This is way too much on a stupid thing. Let's make everyone very depressed with a bunch of political crap. What are you talking about?
This is beautiful. This is one of those things where you read this and you just go, I knew it. Now, what do we do about it? We kick someone out of office is what we do. So
the title of this is six senators accidentally just admitted they are clueless about internet speeds. Well, okay, we already knew that they were clueless, and I think they already knew that we knew that they knew that we knew. Somewhere in there's a thing that they are clueless. What we're seeing now is that they are completely just regurgitating whatever Comcast and AT&T and other companies, Verizon, are telling them to regurgitate. They're not even like writing this stuff anymore. They're just like, oh, Comcast has some legal documents here that you need to sign. into law, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll sign whatever Comcast writes. That's what it's starting to sound like. So basically, they're upset with the FCC for reclassifying broadband from originally it was 4 megabits and 1 megabit up. They reclassified it to 25 and 3. And they're like, whoa, 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 you guys only need like 5 or 6 megabits a second to watch a Netflix stream and all that kind of stuff. That's just going to confuse Americans, and we don't need to why are we doing this? We don't need to rechange what the terms of, high speed is. Essentially, this sort of thinking, it's good for maybe Comcast in the short term, but even in the long term, it's not good for Comcast because globally, the rest of the world is moving ahead. In a lot of places. We got Canada and Australia kind of, sucking their thumbs and watching America and then being like, hey, America's getting away with this shit. Maybe we can get away with this shit. And, a few other places like that. But by and large, a huge portion of the world, a lot of the countries in Asia, a lot of the countries in Europe are moving ahead. And they're building really fast internet infrastructure. And we're going to get left behind if we don't stop this nonsense. That's the big problem here.
You're forgetting 2 details here. First off, on the first part of what you were saying is when the lobbyists come in and say, hey guys, you need to sign this into law, they're like, oh, you need me to sign this? That's great. And then they pull out this thing and they're like, I need you to sign this check to contribute to my campaign.
Oh yeah, well obviously.
And then the second part that I wanted to touch on here is, I forgot because that first part was...
Was it something about the internet speeds globally making us obsolete?
Oh yeah, making us... We can't be obsolete. Facebook is in America, so... Regardless, everybody needs to get on Facebook and Twitter and Google.
I almost want to make a documentary about Facebook, Google, and all these other companies out there. Maybe it'll be something we can work on once we get moved. But the internet used to be sort of the Wild West. You went online and you typed in techsyndicate.com. You didn't go to Google and type techsyndicate.com. Now the entire internet goes through these gateways. And a lot of these gateways are American companies. But you go over to China and you got Baidu and QQ and all this sort of thing. But the internet has turned into a series of gateways that we use instead of just using the internet. It's not what it was intended to be. But a lot of that's housed here. But I don't think okay, so we got Facebook and we got Google. That's not the internet. We'll have another gateway. You know what I mean? If they go away, there'll be another gateway. Or people will just start using it like they used to. I don't know.
But what I'm getting at is we can't be left behind because we have these companies that are connected to the backbone. So regardless of whether or not, all us wonderful little peons out here, all us peasants in the wonderful world of America here, we're just fodder for the rest of everything that's going on.
I'm going to drop some names of these idiots, and if they're in your district, you can send them some, give them a few calls.
I just want to point out they're all Republicans.
Yeah.
Not that I know what that means. I just think it's interesting.
It seems to always be that way. I don't understand it either. I don't subscribe to one side or the other, but so we got Steve Daines, D-I-I-N Daines, I don't know. Roger Wicker, Roy Blunt, Deb Fisher, Ron Johnson, and Cory Gardner. Those are the idiots who are behind this nonsense. Interesting selection of states there. Anyway, Will, you got anything to chime in on this? We always cut you out when we're chatting back and forth here.
It's a lot of stuff that we've covered before in terms of like senators really, just by their actions, it's pretty clear they don't really know what they're doing. And if only they would reach out to people that actually knew what they were doing instead of people that are paid to be there to give them stuff. That's really the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that they're like, okay, we vote them into power, and then once they get into power, we don't have any say anymore because we're not giving them any more money. It's like we've done our job. We've put them into their place of power where they can now make money from all kinds of different areas because I don't know. It's like what can we do to take back the freaking power, man? They work for us, right? They're supposed
to. I think that's the misnomer, is that we can't take back something that we already have. We just need to.
They work for us.
Exercise it, and there are ways of doing this. Talk to anybody who's in political science.
Maybe we could get together and take over like a wildlife refuge or something. Maybe that would help.
Not while I'm drinking.
That's the solution, right?
It's I don't. The tinfoil hat theory on that is that there's a fire chief that resigned. Like there were some people that were acting like hooligans, and so he turned his lights on to tell them to stop acting like hooligans, and they presented federal IDs, but they were apparently some of the instigators of the stuff. And so I was like, wait, what are undercover agents doing there? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't have any idea. Anyway, so AT&T CEO is kind of upset with Tim Cook for Tim Cook sticking his nose into the whole encryption battle. He says it's none of his business. So
yeah, go ahead. I'm just
saying, like, right now they're talking about the encryption thing, and they all want backdoors. Like, the government wants backdoors into everything. We've got now New York with some legislation on the table saying that no devices that do not have backdoors or ways for the manufacturer to unlock them can be sold. California recently has introduced the exact same thing, so that's going to happen. I mean, not going to happen, but that's on the table in California, which would mean immediately all iPhones and Apple devices would be like, you can't sell them anymore.
I mean, there's part of me that thinks that's really like, but part of me is like, wait a minute, no, why are you giggling? Because the reason for this is...
Oh yeah, this is not Apple. Apple's actually in the right here. So you got... So...
Backdoors.
Tim Cook is doing what's responsible for his company on as far as, like, he's not looking out for his customers as much as he's looking out for his bank account, because his customers are his bank account, so he's taking care of them in that way and making sure that their stuff stays encrypted. And then you got AT&T CEO, which is it's funny that he would open up his mouth because he's another private company, and why should he have an opinion? If Tim Cook doesn't have an opinion, why should he have an opinion? Like, I don't even know. Maybe because, wasn't there a room in San Francisco in AT&T's building that was controlled by the NSA?
Well,
he's got a lot of nerve.
a hard time looking at this. I want to take encryption completely out of the equation. Who is he saying? Who is the CEO of AT&T saying that should have a say in encryption? Is he saying the government? Is he saying the individual? I don't really understand. Let's pretend
I think he's saying the government
for a
should be
second.
the one. Yeah.
Let's say that it's file formats, like, I don't know, Microsoft in their dominant position with their Office program suite, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. This is an old argument, an old debate, right? So I don't think Microsoft should have a decision about the Microsoft Office file formats, since everybody uses those. I mean, that's okay, maybe. I mean, that would kind of make sense, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what he's saying, because if he's saying that the government should make a decision about whether or not you can use encryption, that seems really dumb, because, well, for a variety of reasons. One, the government has no say-so in that at all right now. Are we going to pass another set of laws restricting what can and can't happen with encryption? We already had that in the 80s. Encryption was restricted like it was munitions. That has largely been done away with. France, for a long time, encryption was completely outlawed. And so if you ran things, if you had a file server in France in the late 90s and you said, hey, my region is France, it would just quietly turn off encryption, even though it was on by default. But I don't really see that, like, from a consumer standpoint and from a technology standpoint, I don't really see that encryption being on actually hurts anything. What does it do? Does it take away choice? Does it cause any kind of problems? It's like, well, you could maybe say that because Apple devices are encrypted, it makes it harder to root them and harder to take over them so that you can install your own software. But the ship seems to have sailed on that. People don't seem to care about the appliance side of it. I do, and I think a lot of our viewers do, but I think the public at large just does not care. One easy low-hanging fruit thing for encryption is that it basically makes the device unstealable. If you have a phone that works on a cellular network and you have somebody that has a global network and somebody steals your phone, it's not going to be useful, at least in the same country. I mean, I guess you could have it go to another country where some disreputable carrier would run it, but as integrated as these phones are with Apple and iCloud, and the fact that if you really want to see how integrated a phone is with iCloud, set up an iCloud account on a phone and then change your iCloud password. It's going to pop up on the phone every 10 seconds. And it's like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And you just hit cancel. It's like, oh, cool. By cancel, you meant ask you again, right? Because I'm going to ask you again. And it just does that over and over again.
It sounds like Microsoft with their update scheme.
Yeah, it's completely insane that it does that. And so, of course, if you report your device stolen, then presumably, because it's doing that thing with iCloud, Apple could shut it down, or if it's hooked up to somebody else's account and it's reported stolen, Apple could deal with that. And encryption would basically make the device completely useless for thieves. I don't necessarily think that the company having that much control of their hardware is a good thing, but I also don't think that Apple's CEO is really looking out for anybody's best interest, is what I'm getting at. He's saying this not to protect the consumer, not to give the consumer more choice, not for any reason. I just can't think of any legitimate reason he would even say anything about this. It makes no sense at all.
I think we'll leave that one there and let you guys chew on that one. I got something else that
This is why I think that they're all about having, backdoors to everybody else's encryption, but I'm still with the idea that they don't want to have a backdoor to their own encrypted systems for things like this, because this is phenomenal.
I don't know how I feel about this.
This is entrapment.
Do you think it's maybe that that AT&T wants control of the phones that it sells? Could it be something as simple as this guy was making all kinds of money from rooting somebody's phone and putting their own spyware and marketing stuff on a phone, and they can't really do that anymore with Apple devices, and you add the encryption layer, and it's like, well, it's basically impenetrable from the carrier's standpoint. They've got to use Apple's cooperation. Maybe that's what he's pissed off about.
Could be. I can totally see that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I like that one.
All right, moving on to the next article. The FBI has been running a child porn website. They've actually run a few child porn websites because I don't know. It's sort of an entrapment thing. What they do is they take over a child porn website, and instead of shutting it down, they run the damn thing.
Oh no, they did worse than that. They shut it down,
and then they
confiscated all of the images, and then created their own and put it back online.
See, I don't know how I feel about this. It feels. I mean, it's an entrapment. I always feel like entrapment is not very cool, but I want any that's the thing. Like, you get to this point, and you're like, okay, that's a pedophile. Like, okay, yeah, give me a baseball bat and tie him to a chair, and that'd be great.
Or we can steal his collection and run around the neighborhood saying free child porn,
and then see who else you catch.
And see who else sticks their head out their door to see what the hell you're yelling about, and then arrest them. Because,
well, I mean, it's a little bit more than sticking your head out the door. They have to go to a website and join. And there's been 100,000 people who have joined this website.
Yeah.
They're convicting 100.
Disturbing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's more disturbing, the fact that 100,000 people have joined it, or what you're about to say is that only 167?
That's like 137 have been charged with a crime.
Charges out of 100,000 people who have signed up for the website.
They have access to like 1,000 of their computers. They can they've been able to get into it. So I don't know how I feel about this at all. I want those guys dealt with. Is this a better way to deal with them than just shutting down child porn websites? Is it one of those things where it's like, well, they're going to do it anyway, we may as well put the lure out there to catch them? I don't know. I don't think it doesn't sound legal, but I don't know. Wendell, you got any insight on this nonsense?
It's such a toxic topic. It's hard to have any kind of relevant conversation or argument that would fit into a 30-second soundbite. I think that for people that are going to these kinds of sites, I think there's a mental health component.
Let's call them Jareds.
To this, and the mental health component of these kind of things is largely ignored. It's very bad. It's very, very hard to have any kind of sympathy for a pedophile, especially given the kind of crimes that they can perpetrate. It's really one of the most abhorrent and shocking things in society. But at the same time, there's still do we still, as members of society, owe them any kind of duty of care or standard of care for the mental health component of it? And
I think America would say no, but Sweden and
Norway I think Americans would say no.
Sweden and Norway would say yes.
If you want to look at it from an objective standpoint, America has laws that are in place that are designed to rehabilitate and, granted, of course,
America does it.
Yes,
seems like
we do.
They're all about punishment. It seems like
no, we do have that, but we do have a lot of rehabilitation and mental health stuff. But you have to get past the fact that these people are demonized for what they're doing.
Well,
and
yeah, you don't want them in your neighborhood.
See, now that right there is where the problem with the laws in America is that the ones that the predators, the people who actually are predatory in their activities, the ones that you don't want in your neighborhood are, John Wayne Gacy. This is a guy who was dressing up like a clown, going and performing at kids' birthday parties, and then and that's how he was selecting his. But there was a lot of mental health in there, that problems that he had that just kind of got a little ridiculous. But the laws that we have in this country for things that are a lot less severe. So again, you got a 17 and 18-year-old. We've had to kind of like, oh, okay, that's okay. They've been dating for 2 years now, and
just don't smoke marijuana or we'll shoot you.
Yeah, exactly. But you get laws that are the same laws that are applied to them that are applied to these predatories, and there's a wide range of stuff. And I grew up in a very small town with a lot of very terrible things going on, and I'm just going to leave it at that I'm kind of intimately familiar with that range of society and the kind of things that they do to people. I saw a lot of really terrible stuff happen, and I don't agree with this. Them creating a website and putting it on the dark web and then broadcasting that it's there.
There's got to be another way to do it. I just don't have any other ideas, and I don't really bend my mind towards ways to catch these guys. But I don't know. Shit just got dark here.
It did, and this is like you said. There's no easy way to have this conversation, and there isn't. And I think that humans are humans. I think that they can be rehabilitated to a certain extent, whatever that may be. I don't particularly believe that there is any crime that is deserving of the demonization that we do to people. Now, I say that, but I also know that I am also a human, and I am fully capable of committing a crime. And if I had a daughter that was assaulted, or even a little boy that was assaulted in this fashion, I probably would take.
Hey, we're live. We're on the internet.
That's fine. I mean, I'm
we're
just
on
saying
the internet. No more.
I'm saying that I am human, and I am flawed in my own ways. That's why I keep replacing.
One of these days we'll be in court and they'll keep replaying that over and over again. And
I'm gonna be like, I'm sorry.
I'm like, damn it, I said that.
I'm gonna pull a Samuel L. Jackson moment in the what was that movie? Anyway, you all can look it up later.
Thin Red Balloon or something.
No, it was a Samuel L. Jackson.
Was it the one he was a balloon clown animal?
No,
maker?
That was a different movie.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Anyway,
should we?
It's a little dark. Let's move on.
You want to chew on this anymore? Or you want to move on, Wendell?
I don't agree with this.
I think we've killed this topic.
Yeah.
I'm upset about it. It's over. I didn't mean to talk about that so much. God damn it. That topic sucks.
Law enforcement extending their powers, probably bad, but slippery slope. What are you going to do? Done.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing with it is are they liable for the crime of putting the pornography on the internet?
No, they don't. They're not liable for anything.
That's where my problem is that if I was like, oh, I'm just creating an entrapment site. My whole purpose of creating this website was to collect and trap criminals, and I'm just handing over troves of databases of people accessing my child porn collection, I would be arrested and thrown in jail.
Vigilantes will be punished.
Exactly. So I'm sorry, but I don't particularly think that anybody in any aspect of any law enforcement should be held above the law, especially in something like
I guess if you look at it as just like any random crime, like, okay, purse thieves. We're going to set up these people to walk around dark alleys carrying purses so we can catch them. That's entrapment. That's, it's... anyway, next topic. God damn.
Yeah.
All right. Find My Phone app. This is kind of funny.
Back to police doing some really fun stuff.
This isn't police. This is...
Oh, no, they are partially involved in this. This is an Atlanta couple. Their home is randomly, for whatever reason, it is the pin in the map that says your phone is here.
I think there's a lot of conjecture back and forth as to what's happening. So there's a Find My Phone app, and of course you lose your phone and you go online and it's like, oh, here's your phone. Its GPS location is right here. I think what's happening is whenever a phone does not have a GPS location, it's panicking, and for some reason this becomes the default address. It's like, I don't know here. I think that's what's happening. Then there's someone in the comments here. This comment here is he said he's worked in the field a few times, and this is probably what's happening with the GPS. For some reason, that is maybe the geographical center of the zip code, and it's just like the GPS is like, I don't know, how about this? And that just happens to be the default, and it just keeps failing to that. Whenever it fails, send them there. So people are showing up at all hours. They're angry. I hope that this is not an actual picture of the house, because you can read the damn
number on the front of it.
Yeah, if Ars Technica could actually put a picture of the house on there, I would hope that they would just pick a random abandoned house to make it, fit the article. But if it's actually a picture of the house, you guys are bad journalists, and I hope someone comes and circumcises the side of your weenus here on your elbow. What? Like a little elbow, or a little elbow.
Weenus on your elbow. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't know it was just bones. Ew. Anyway, so this is funny. The thing about this is we don't know how to handle this. It's not like who's at fault here? Is the app at fault? Is the GPS at fault? It's an error in the system. These guys are getting kind of harassed. Should the app be at fault? Should the they didn't make the GPS software?
I'm going to say the app should be at fault, and the reason I'm saying the app should be at fault is I've known people who have iPhones, and the iPhone's actually got that built into it. If you've got an Android phone, you can log in and see where your phone has been because it updates your location and whatnot. You get the Find My app. It's got to ping the phone, and the phone has to tell it its location based on GPS or telemetry data that it's got from cell towers and whatnot. And if that suddenly stops, it should say last known location is within this ring of location, and this was the last time we were able to have contact with the phone. That's how iPhone does it. That's how Google does it. All right. If there's a Find My app phone that is, or Find My phone app, Find My app phone. That's what all phones like. I don't know where the damn app is. But yeah, if there's a Find My phone app that doesn't have that kind of thing going on and people are using it, I think you need to get a better app.
All right, moving right along then. Yeah, TVs. The whole smart TV thing is getting a little bit too smart. So we've talked about this before. We've had some different TVs in here that had some disturbing. Even the latest LG we had, I was like, holy shit, this is draconian almost. Like, we will listen to everything you do and watch what you do, and we've inserted smellometers so we can smell you and recommend body odor protection. Like, what do they call that? Deodorant? Deodorant is now known as body odor protection. But you know what I mean? They're just getting
the correct term for it, because
yes.
There's antiperspirant and deodorant, but we don't want to when people say deodorant and antiperspirant, they're two different things. Hey, but they are body odor protectors.
Yeah, it's not nice to say antiperspirant, because what if someone's sweaty and they're self-conscious? That's not very 2016.
Body odor protectors.
Yeah, that'll be bad in a few years too.
And you get an ad. Well, while watching this on your smart TV, you will have an ad on that side of your screen that'll just show up and be like,
hey, you sweaty mess. Well, that's not going to do that. That's what would have happened in the 50s. Have your wife go down to the store, you sweaty mess.
Yeah, that would definitely have happened in the 50s, maybe the 60s.
And don't forget to buy some.
Anybody who's running a creative agency now that does that needs to be swift kicked with a donkey.
They need to be sent to the Tumblr.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Tumblr? Anyway, I forgot what we were doing with this. There's not really many regulations with this kind of stuff. It's just there's a lot of Wild West shit going on, and this is another thing that's kind of out there because all right, so the TVs before you buy a TV, you pay the manufacturer, they make their money. Your transaction with Sharp or Panasonic or whoever is over. It's done. But now
you are the owner of that object.
Right now. They want to be inside it. They want to put ads on everything. I mean, you're already getting ads for television. I mean, broadcast cable pays for a lot of their stuff with advertising. So you get ads there. They want to put ads on top of that. So, and they're also putting ads on things that you normally pay for, like Netflix, that you pay for to be ad-free. So you'd be watching a Netflix thing, and it's like, oh, you're watching a Schwarzenegger thing about machine guns and all that. We bet that you're going to like these things, and it'll bring up like G.I. Joe action figures or whatever. It actually is able to sniff the content. Another thing that's interesting about this article in particular is that one of the TVs that he purchased, one of the new smart TVs from Samsung. What happened is he noticed that whenever he's watching Netflix, a certain movie, this army ad would come up. He's watching Inglourious Bastards, and an army ad came up, and he's like, Well, that's interesting. How does it know what I'm watching on Netflix? It must be looking at the title. So he was like, I wonder if this is going to work if I pipe this in from my computer via HDMI. He plugged it up through HDMI. The same ad came up. So his hypothesis is that there's actually some sort of an algorithm going on where it's like, content ID, sort of like YouTube, where it's recognizing, oh, you're watching Inglourious Bastards. Let me go get this advertisement that goes along with that and put it up on the screen.
And it's all part of the EULA is now, you have a EULA for your TV. It's like, what's going on here? You buy the TV, you pay for Netflix, and you're getting ads on top. But what are the ads paying for?
Well, they're just making money. They're not paying for anything. They're just making money.
But that's the whole justification of having an ad, is that the ad is paying for something.
I mean, TVs ain't getting cheaper. If they're going to do this, give me a free TV.
No, actually, don't do this. I'll rather buy the TV.
Well, yeah, I'm saying give people two options. People who don't have any money, TVs are awful. But yeah, that's what I would do. Just two different options.
But that's my point. Is that as the what is this paying for? What is the justification for this? Because as a consumer, I just paid for this TV. What am I getting? Oh, well, we gave you a subsidized TV, so you actually got $500 off. Okay, well, here's $500. Turn that shit off.
Yeah, I mean, this is another interesting tweet here. Because Xbox already does this, it's able to track who's in the room and all that stuff. How much longer until TVs can do that? I'd say we got another generation until the next until the next TV is able to be like, oh, hey, who's in the room?
I think they're already doing that.
Yeah, but if they were really getting into that, who's going to be the first person to jump on this? The NFL. The NFL hates when multiple people get together and watch their show. They're like, no, we want. They want higher numbers. They want they want one or two people at a television. They don't want 15 people watching something. And they want to make sure that they're being able to charge for every person, especially when they're doing their advertising. 15 people get together to watch the Super Bowl. They have to figure that out. And all they're getting from the Nielsen numbers is, or whatever digital thing is replacing that, Nielsen digital. I don't know.
Nielsen's still doing it. They're just giving it better.
But now they're like, okay, well, if the Super Bowl was played on this many television sets, that doesn't actually give you a head count. And they're going to want a head count so that they can charge more.
I mean, I'm more interested in the idea that what kind of conversation is going to happen. Honey, I've got the boys over to watch the game, or honey, I got the girls over to watch the game. Stay out of the living room. We only paid for 8 people this time.
Well, that, or maybe they're going to charge the advertisers more. But that okay, if it's a pay-per-view event, yeah, or if it's a movie. So you're buying a movie, they're like, okay, well, this you're renting a movie, like on pay, the whole demand thing. And they're like, okay, yeah, the movie's going to cost $8 and 2 people can watch it. Like, I can totally see that happening.
I'm going to get to a point where what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the TV into the corner, and I'm going to have some kind of like mirror system set up to where I'm going to have a mirror reflecting the TV back around in some prism function, so the TV doesn't understand what the hell's going on, and I can still watch TV just fine.
What if the TV is like also? Really, what if it's smart? What if the TV is like, okay, I'm not going to play anything. I can't see anything. You're either blocking the camera or something's up.
I will stick a Batman figurine in front of the damn TV to make it think there's somebody there.
And Batman figurines will start flying off the shelves. We're going to be selling those on Epic Pants, by the way.
Yeah, because instead of a new Bat logo, it's going to have our logo.
Go ahead.
I'll just root my TV, and it'll be fine.
We need open TV. That's what we need. Holy ooh.
I've got a Vizio that is now an open TV as a result of modifications. It turns out that the interface, the panel interface, is basically standardized at this point. You can order your own controller. It's mix and match. A lot of the monitors that we've been getting from Korea have the same vendor for the controller, but it's all different types of LCD panels. You can get LG or Samsung panels, which I guarantee you do not have the smarts in them, or you can get, sort of B-grade, lesser known manufacturers for panels that are okay quality, not as good as Samsung or LG, but still a reasonably good panel. But the interfaces are all basically the same or very close to it.
The open TV thing is there's a lot of potential for good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of potential for good with the Internet of Things. There's a lot of potential for good with connected devices. But the people who are largely pushing the market are not interested in what's good for the consumer. They're interested in what's good for their bank account. And it's the same thing in just about every industry. You know what I mean? Like the whole GMO thing would be a lot better if it was not about bank accounts, if it was about like what's actually good for us. You know what I mean? That just if you stand back and look at everything.
I think there is a slice of people in these companies who are thinking of the betterment of mankind, and they are working for a company that they know to be not on the level, because they know that this company will allow them to work on the research that they want to do to betterment mankind. Even with this kind of stuff, with like televisions and all these companies, it's like, what can I do to increase profits now? Not what can I do to make sure that we have a company in 20 years.
Yeah. My solution is, I don't own televisions, and if you do get one, you don't have to plug it in. You're gonna lose some features, but just put a slim client in there, or if you or hack your TV like he was talking about with the Vizio. I'm just gonna do a projector. Like when we get an office or something, we'll just plug up a projector to the... I'm going to get the dumbest projector I can find, just good quality, just plug it into your computer, maybe an SD card slot, and that's it.
I don't even want an SD card slot. I'm just going to plug it into the NAS and be done with it.
Yeah. So
I'm going to watch our videos all day long.
Yeah. I don't know, do we need regulations on this nonsense? People are saying we're going to need ad blockers for our TV.
You know, this is where, you know, you stop and think about this, the little boxes that they keep trying to push, that they're being like, this is the magical ad destroying firewall. This is the magical automatically upgrading firewall to protect your home and your security and your privacy. We're going to need one of those for the television.
Yeah.
When do we need to build one of those for the televisions?
I'll just blacklist the IPs on the firewall. It'll be fine.
Speaking of ads, this is we've got a lot of gray. My God, this show is just going to be called The Gray Area. It's just everything's kind of a gray area. So the Mozilla co-founder, he's unveiling a new web browser called Brave. Now, what Brave does is it looks at all the advertisements, removes them all, and replaces the advertisements with its own advertisements. Now, it's trying to be like, hey, look, we're the good guys. We're giving you really good ads that are nice and clean. We're taking a 15% cut, but if you are a publisher on these websites, you can have, 40 or 50% of the ad money that we generate? You just have to come and sign up for our service. And then they're going to sell the ads, guarantee that the ads, they're trying to guarantee that the ads are going to be cleaner.
In the ad world, we call these ad injectors, and they're bad. So the fact that they're trying to sit back and say, hey, look, man, we're going to do the same thing that all this malware does to your system, except we're going to make sure you know about what you're doing before.
And they're also like, oh, we're also giving you HTTPS everywhere built into the machine. So it's kind of ad block, but replacing it with their own ads. Doing this is, in my opinion, it's kind of a violation of the rights of the different websites. Like, it's our right to...
But they're not replacing like all ads. Like if we put an ad on the site that was a static ad that we were serving, they don't touch it. But if it was like a Google AdSense or any of these other companies that do the programmatic ad serving, those will be replaced.
It's the thing that really bothers me is this is going to require all of the different publishers out there who have websites to go and sign up for the service. And if they don't sign up for the service, they're just going to lose ad revenue. So we've got a number of things already making it extremely difficult for websites to exist on the internet because there's so many different things out there that remove ads. A lot of that's the fault of the people putting the ads on there because they're crappy ads. But still, it's just another thing that's going to make it more difficult for people who blog, write articles. It's going to make it more difficult for them to eat. And...
This is bad for us because we will get less revenue, if any.
Well, no, I mean, we just got to go talk to the guy and be like, "Hey, man, put us on your list. Give us some cash." Yeah.
Even then, it's you get a percentage, and the percentage is they take 15% cut. They give a 15% cut to someone else. The 15% cut goes. Is it back to the community or something like that? I forget how I worded it, but yeah, so it's a weird split up of all the percentages, and it seems like they're just doing it's really they're just replacing the ads with their own injector and making money.
15% goes to the user browsing the site, which they could then use to pay other sites.
I guess that's somehow the incentive. That's the incentive to not use an ad blocker, and that's something I think would be interesting if the standard ad companies out there like Google and I guess Google owns DoubleClick now. I'm not sure who else is out there. I wonder if they could start to explore something like this. Everyone has a Google account.
I'm already looking at the ways to exploit this. So let's say I've got a data center filled with computers that I could install this browser on, have it all sign up under a small shell corporation somewhere, and have all of these things browsing all over the place. It's no different than any kind of ad carousel robot that's browsing sites, but now I'm getting a kickback on the fact that I'm getting a kickback. That would be scary, actually. I would wonder if that...
Well, now someone's...
You're welcome.
Some Russian guy right now being like, thank you very much.
You're right. No, when he does that, just remember I'm the one who gave you the idea. Just kindly donate to our Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that...
I think that this venture would be far more interesting had it been done as a non-profit. So if they had set themselves up to say, look, the advertising on the internet is really awful, this is how they should have done it. It's like, look, the advertising on the internet is really awful. What we're going to do is we're going to vet the ads that you see to make sure that they're not awful. And we will still pay the content people, and we will still do whatever. We will give you a 15% cut, but we ourselves are a non-profit. We're going to operate, in the red or at no profit. I still don't think that's right, but I think it would be a much more interesting... it'd be a much more interesting situation, because then it would be like, Forbes and major websites with like the takeover ads. This browser's like, no, you can have this or nothing. But then the people that are using that software sort of know the level of ad assault that they're going to get. You have this a little bit with ad block, but it's a little bit of different equation, I think, when it's actually in the browser that you're using. And so then publishers can't have the really offensive, really invasive sort of ad takeover thing.
I've got the solution right here. Here's what they need to do. They need to... they can launch their browser. I think it's a bad idea. They've got so much VC funding that they're going to have to. They should just become a marketing company or an ad company, and this should be their business model, so that we can go and sign up and say, hey, we would rather have your ads than Google ads on our website, and it will incentivize everyone who comes to our website to leave ad block off so they can get the ads and get a kickback. Why don't they just do that? Like, why can't you just be the cool ad company who delivers safe ads, gives people a kickback for not turning on ad block, and taking care of the publisher? Do that. Come on. What's wrong with that? That's great.
There's only like 30.
It puts the choice in our hands.
Because then they're becoming a necessary evil, so to speak. And I don't know.
As opposed to just an evil?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of ad servers out there, and some of them are more reputable than others, and even some of the ones that are very reputable still have that random advertiser that shows up and puts a bunch of crap in their mix, and it gets...
Yeah. All right, well, I want to say thanks to everybody on Patreon now that we're talking about all this advertising stuff. There's a forum thread right now going on. Where
and you Russian guy out there who just stole my idea, right there.
Right here. You can empower us to make documentaries for only $35,000 a month.
Because I know how much you're actually making with this crap ad malicious
that money we can make like a documentary every 4 months.
Maybe we should just do this. We're just going to start making a bunch of adware stuff. You guys can just download the malware, so everywhere you go, it delivers our ads to you. I mean, this is a terrible idea. You should not.
No one's going to stop us.
That worked pretty well when we were mining Bitcoin and people could download our Bitcoin client. That worked really great until the Bitcoin, situation became that you can't really do that anymore with commodity hardware.
Yeah, and then we also had to watch out for the people who were like, wait a minute, we get to buy graphics cards with these Bitcoins because we're helping. I was like, wait a second, that's not a donation because you're getting all the Bitcoins now. And then we were like, who has the Bitcoins?
Oops.
Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, thanks to all our Patreons. You guys are really keeping us alive. Again,
I know things have been a little crazy over the last couple of months with everything that's been going on. Where things are getting a little settled, things are being kind of turbulent at the same time, but we're working to get it all things out. I know this one's late. We're looking at things getting out more on time.
That's because of Blizzard. It's not. That's not.
Yes, that's true. That's what I mean. But that's what I mean.
Let me cut you off before you get too upset. Make them too upset. We're fine. All right, we're fine. There
was a blizzard.
I'm stressed as hell. There was a blizzard in Kentucky. I've gotten to the point with my stress where it's gone over the edge, and people were like, yesterday I put the video online about the phone, and like, hey, Goofy Logan is back. Yeah, it's all my stress level, and I don't care anymore. It's gone over the edge where like now I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna live.
You look back and you're like, damn.
Yeah, our landlord here is like, hey, we want you out of here in like 15, 20 days because, and I didn't know they could do that in Washington. And I was like, but we're paying our bills. And they're like, yeah, but I'm in town for that long, and it'd be nice if you could, if we could wrap this up while I'm in town so I don't have to fly back because they live really far away. And I was like, oh, Well, shit. So now I'm like, all right, sure, cool.
Whatever. Let's do this. So we're moving. And things are going to be a little crazy. So just bear with us. Things are going to be awesome. We got a lot of stuff in the pipe. And this helps out immensely.
Yeah, and it's going to... Well, this will help us out hire another person as soon as we move. So we had someone lined up, and we'll have to line up someone else. Anyway, thanks for that. Also, the music, guys. The video game is actually coming along.
I had a conversation with our dev this morning.
You guys would be surprised. The video game is coming along. Like, you guys are going to be really surprised. This is what pays for the video game. So if you don't have a copy of this yet, go and pick it up, man. It's pretty okay, I suppose.
Very loud.
Yeah, that's what you guys get.
And
then, short of the month. I wanted to wear this today because it's awesome, but it's in the wash. Damn. John's going to be mad. He's like, man, why didn't you wear the shirt? Short of the month.
I know. I was kind of upset. I was like, man, I wanted to wear
I put them in the wash, then I was like, whoops, we're going to shoot right now.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, lots of new stuff coming. We got some new mouse pads coming.
Also, Land Syndicate, April 15th to 17th. It's
get on that thing, man.
Park. Get on it. We've got plenty of tickets left, and it's...
No, there's only a few.
There's enough. So
there's a few. You have to make them want the damn thing.
If you and your buddy want to go, you can
Where's your sales tactic?
You are going to be able to go. Party, But your buddy, you're going to have to fight
guys, to the death. No, hold on. Let me do this. Guys, listen. We're probably going to run out any minute. If you don't buy it right now, you're probably not going to be able to get it. So, oh, man, we're almost out. Actually, I think we're probably out. You should go check to make sure that we're not out. But they're selling so fast. See, that's how you do it. Now they're like, oh shit, I better go buy that before it runs out.
And they're still marked down to 75. Are we going to bring that back up? Are we going to crank that up? Or are we just going to leave it at 75?
I was supposed to bring it up to 90 on the 20th.
I don't think we should. So there's reasons for that, but we can cut this part. But I just don't think we should. And there's a couple of reasons why, and we'll talk about it later.
We're not breaking it, guys. We are not breaking even on this, just so you know. But it's going to be fun.
Going in the
hole. We're doing it for the community. So
yeah, this isn't about making money. This is about having the LAN party that you and I talked about 8 years ago.
Yeah, next time probably won't do it in Seattle, though it's so far away for everybody. But this time it is going to be in Seattle. Next time it's going to be in Chile,
Kansas City.
Oh, or Kansas City. I was thinking.
They got Google Fiber.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about DARPA making brain implants.
DARPA makes everything. I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, really, no. DARPA funds everything.
This is just DARPA research. I mean, DARPA made the internet, so this is just DARPA research looking for a human brain interface.
Yeah, and I guess the first thing that they're going to do with the brain interface is they said it would be about the size of a centimeter square.
They're going to stick it into my skull is what they're going to do.
It's going to be for combating people who've lost motor skills or blind or can't smell or
just need
can't
to be
hear.
Dr. Octopus.
That too. They haven't gotten into anything else, but I'm waiting for... I'm wondering how long it's going to take them to be able to be like, okay, we got an interface. Here's your plug. You plug in right here, and let's just download a bunch of concertos, and all of a sudden you can play. Or let's downloading Mandarin Advanced or whatever.
It's called ChipJacks. It's already existent in the Shadowrun universe, and you basically just slot it in, and while it's in there, you can access it and use it. So you need to speak Mandarin, I can speak Mandarin. You want to play a concert? There, plug it in, you can play at a concert. So that's what we need. Otherwise, you start downloading stuff, it's like how much space can your brain hold? How much space does your hard drive hold? And you fill it up, you're like, crap, I got to get a bigger hard drive for my brain.
Your brain needs to defragment. That's one of the things that happens when you sleep. I think it's kind of like I'm just making this shit up, but there's no science. But your brain's defragmenting when you sleep. That's why all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's my friend and I, and we were wandering around, and then a bunch of aliens attacked with alligators, and there was some explosions. That's a new Hollywood movie, actually. It's not a dream.
It will be when we're done making it.
Mm-hmm. Just add explosions. Anyway.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? So yeah, there's if you put too much stuff in there, I wonder what that's going to do for fragmentation. Are you going to start having weird dreams and stuff? Or are you going to be able to like not remember things? Are you going to go almost senile or like you have Alzheimer's or something like that?
I would never sleep. I would just plug myself in and then go to sleep while I'm plugged in.
So, yeah, we always get hypothetical, but that's kind of fun. Anyway.
Brain implants.
See what comes of that.
Next on the tech.
Oh, this is good.
This is what we're going to do. We're going to plug in a bunch of brain implants so then we can control these things.
Another gray area. People are just making killer robots. NATO hasn't said anything about killer robots. There's no treaties about killer robots. We are one of the countries that says, hey, killer robots are uncool, yet we are also...
We say that we can't deploy them until 2020.
But we're one of the only countries that has a stance on it, and we're making them. We're also number one in the world as far as working on the development of killer robots.
Reminds me of all those people who are always constantly yelling about those things they don't like, but yet themselves secretly are doing it in their backyard.
Politicians?
Yeah. Those are the guys.
So, I don't know. Wendell, what do you think? Killer robots. Would you rather... See, here's the thing. If you go to any country and say, like, hey, would you rather send your children, your son, your daughter, into battle, or would you rather send a killer robot? They're going to be like, oh, killer robots. Yeah, I'd much rather keep my kids at home. That'd be great. Then you say, okay, you're being attacked. Would you rather be attacked by killer robots or an army of, Egyptians and Russians, because they're working together now? The invasion. They're like, oh, I'd rather have the army of real people. I would never want the killer robots to attack. That's awful. So now you have this thing where everyone thinks they're the good guy, of course, because who would think they're the bad guy, right? It's like, I am the bad guy, let's go kill things. No. You wake up in the morning and you say, we are the good guys. We must go and fight for what we believe in because we have learned these things since birth. And you are like, we will develop killer robots because we are the good guys. And then every other country is going to do the same thing. And we're going to have killer robots.
So then what's going to end up happening is a killer robot from country A is going to go and fight killer robot from country B, and we're going to televise the whole thing and put ads in front of it, and we're going to call it Robot Wars.
I wish. What's really going to happen is the killer robot's going to kick down a door and shoot all the children and women and husbands and uncles and grandchildren and everything. The robots. There's no, I guess you can program them, all right, don't shoot the non-military ones, but not everybody's going to do that.
Well, that's my point, is that if we program them all, just in this hypothetical situation, we program them all to not shoot non-military, well, we just make all the robots military, and everybody else is not military.
That's not going to happen, though, because...
And then Skynet takes over, and they start killing everybody anyway. So regardless of what we do, we're all screwed.
What's going to happen is it's going to be like, one country's going to be like, these people look different than us, let's have our robots go kill them. That's what's going to happen. They're not the same color as we are, and they believe in some different sky fairy, so let's take them out. And they're going to send in the killer robots, take out everyone who believes in, whatever god, or whatever.
I wonder how the statistics are going to be reported on TV. 37,000 enemy combatants have fallen. We lost 5,000 robots. It's a travesty.
5,000. No, they're going to talk about how much money worth of robots. Each robot was $122 million. It's not how much they're going to cost, I bet, after they mass produce them. But, I wonder if we're going to get them all made in China. They're going to be backdoored. That's what's going to happen. Greed is going to enter the picture, and all the companies here, the government's
going to boil down the money.
They're going to make them in China, and they're all going to get them shipped over here. And halfway through the battle, they're going to turn around and be like, "What's going on?" And then China's going to be like, "Yeah, can we have a few more? Can we have a few states? Maybe California would be nice. We'd like California."
Or we're going to turn on, what was that? Operative 42? I don't know.
What's that?
It was. I don't know. I was trying to make a Star Wars quote, but I can't remember what it was.
I thought that was a hemorrhoid cream.
That's Preparation H.
Oh, I forget what these things are. I thought Preparation H was something they did before they jumped out of an airplane. Did you prepare your Preparation H? Yes, sir.
You're going to hit the ground and your ass is going to hurt. Wendell, I need some kind of, I need a barometer here, or some kind of ballast. That's what I'm looking for. I need a ballast. Level us out. We're going over right now.
Yeah, you can jump at any time. I know it's a second delay, but yeah.
I thought of the... It's hard to think through this. And I think that the easiest way to think through how it would go would be to think about how, at least for America, the wars in Iraq or like Vietnam would have gone if we had killer robots to deploy instead of a bunch of soldiers. You know, war is hell, and, you know, even putting soldiers' lives, you know, on the front lines, it's not a good thing, but it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really remove you from war. And so there was of course a public outcry and protests and a lot of stuff around the Vietnam War, which, you know, historically, the historical context there is that it probably could have been avoided. altogether, I think, from what I understand. I'm not really an historian, so maybe that's not true, or maybe somebody's going to point me the right way. But from what I understand, Vietnam could have been avoided. And more recently, the wars in Iraq certainly seem like they could have been avoided. But I think that the use of technology has the dangerous potential to minimize how serious these types of engagements are. And the first engagement, for the first 50 to 100 years, the engagements are going to be hilariously lopsided. And so I think that has the potential to desensitize, the attacking society from the kind of harm that they're causing. And I think that has the potential to be a real problem. We already see it now with drones. Drones have very, very lethal weapons. But how many leaked videos from various things, and how many sort of doctored news footage videos have we seen and covered where the drone operator's like, that might be a bad guy, I can't really tell, the film's kind of grainy, let's just blow it up. It's like, oh, turns out it was an ambulance full of children. Whoops. That's happened at least 3 times that I know of, that the Associated Press has reported on in the last 10 years. So how many more times has that happened that has not been reported? And I don't know that if somebody was on the ground that they would have made a different decision. But I do know that if you're on the ground and sort of not in a comfortable room operating on a screen, you will make different decisions. I don't know if those decisions are better or worse, but it seems like being so far removed from the situation that that you would be disinclined to factor in the gravity of the decisions that you would make.
I think that if you step back, I always like to step back and try to get the broadest perspective possible. The big issue for me, or the big, I guess the one point in here that is going to make everything rough, who's in charge of them? The person or the group of people in charge of the killer robots, that's going to be the problem. Because
Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney is going to be in charge of the killer robots. That's all you need to know.
Oh, in that case, I don't worry about it at all. It's the same thing with cars. I would rather have a self-driving car than have a human-driven car. And it's going to be the same for killer robots. I don't think killer robots should exist, but they're probably going to exist. That's just what's going to happen. They're already working on them. It's going to happen. We need to there's already drones and stuff. Let's let AI control it. I mean, let's develop the singularity and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll all be dead. But
see, that's the thing. It's never really under AI control. It's if Google wanted to order all of their self-driving cars off of a cliff, it could totally happen. The technology exists.
Well, the AI is just going to take over then.
Well, Elon Musk was deploying firmware updates for the Tesla motors that was like giving them pursuit mode or whatever, like Knight Rider, like the old Knight Rider things, like super pursuit mode kit, and it just does the thing, and that's but it could just as easily be the super death trap update as well. I mean, Elon Musk could push a button and the super death trap mode, just like
we have to rely.
All systems go. And
you just brought up a really valid point, is that it's not even so much that it would be Elon Musk or Tesla. You're looking at it like an official capacity. But what if somebody used a government sanctioned backdoor to an encrypted system and implanted a firmware update that drove everything off of a cliff?
Or made the killer robots turn and shoot the village. So now
and would the CIA, would it be a double-blind operation by the CIA, or would it be an actual legit thing? Because you don't even know. It's like, oh, hackers did this. It's like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. But they used the government backdoor, the one that you guys said that only you had the key to. Well, yeah, but some terrorists got a hold of. Oh, yeah, I see now.
Maybe when we start a new planet, we should destroy all the technology and start over with tools, like just.
I think that's what happened here. Look what happened. Oh
yeah, you're right.
We've already done this.
It's already. This is take 2, and now we're back to square one again. We're gonna have to fly back to the old planet that we left from.
It would not be the first false flag operation that the government has been involved in, the U.S. government, which is really scary because it's like, wait a minute, the government's been involved in false flag operations? Yeah, you betcha.
Hell yeah.
That's why we have a term for it.
What do you think happened to JFK? It's the whole Cuba thing. Anyway, okay, so now China, they're making laser guns, man. So they're making laser guns that they're going to hand to their infantry, which will soon be their robot army, I'm sure. Now, the laser guns right now are mainly made for disabling radars. They're not weaponized yet. They're blinding. They can shoot them at an airplane and blind the people flying it or something like that, but they're not going to be They're going to generate a lot of heat. I imagine if you shoot someone in the eyes with this thing, it's not going to. If you don't point it at your face, don't do that.
No.
But they're not like powerful enough to burn a hole in your chest yet. But they're working on it.
Yeah, the kind of batteries it takes or the kind of power source that we require to actually get something that's that hot. I mean, that's why they put the big laser destroyer thingamajiggers on destroyers and battleships, and those things are actually taking out drones and taking out planes. Where they're like, hey, look, there's a plane. Just point the laser at it.
Well, this laser gun here, they said, might be able to take down a missile or something like that.
Yeah, it depends on what they mean by take down. I mean, it's possible that it
disable, knock it out,
or just
blow
blind it so it doesn't know where it's going anymore, so they redirect it somewhere, or does it actually just cause a thing to go, oh, I think I impacted and explode in midair? Regardless,
it produces an intense amount of heat, so it might be able to blow it up in midair. I'm not sure. Who knows?
I don't know.
But they're working on laser guns.
But handheld.
They look pretty badass. Are they going to be Cobra? Look, is that all their next ruler is going to wear that funny mask and be like, China!
Hold on, let me get it. It's right there.
Attack!
It's going to be Destro. Destro's going to take over.
We're going to blow up the ocean! That's what's going to happen. They're going to melt the ocean with lasers.
They're going to be like, man, I want to boil the ocean. Like, wait a minute. Why don't we just fill up a ZFS?
Yeah. Speaking of all this artificial intelligence, robots, and all that kind of stuff, I'm actually looking forward to Werner Herzog's new film. It's about artificial intelligence, robotics, and that sort of thing. There's just a trailer for it. Just a quick mention, we'll move on. But yeah, it's called Lo and Behold, Reveries of the Connected World. God, he's deep. Or is he just sounding deep? I don't know. That's I don't know. That title alone would look good on an old book. In a
I think he's been
Brooklyn
reading
apartment.
Sagan again.
Sagan, yeah. All right. Got the mention there. Stephen Hawking. Wow, he's got tinfoil hat on too. He's saying we should leave the Earth before the ruling class destroys it. You guys can go in and read all about that, but yeah, he actually said that we need to. I mean, this is, I think, coming from him, it's more of a warning to the ruling class to, hey, what the hell? Can you stop maybe doing that? They're like, but it's fun. I like it.
But I need to improve profit margins.
Could you maybe, could you maybe take the magnifying glass off the ant for a little while? Maybe like stop it, like slapping him on the hand, because maybe they'll listen to him because he's the foremost genius in the world. As I mean, that's what he's looked at as. I mean, really, he's looked at the modern Einstein or whatever. Maybe they'll listen to him. Maybe. I don't know. Wendell, you think that there's any hope here for the ruling class to stop messing with things just because Stephen Hawking said, hey, cut it out?
No, the speed with which we are able to inflict ecological damage on the Earth at scary proportions is only increasing. And think about, the nuclear disasters. Not that there's nothing wrong with nuclear. It's probably the best option that we've got. But when our energy needs go up, which actually our energy needs on a domestic scale have not really been going up thanks to improvements in technology, which is really cool. But the population will increase, and so overall it's still a net increase. And the technological adoption by the general population has increased, and so we can't help but basically destroy the planet. And if we accidentally, this is, far-fetched option, but it's like, we're going to turn on the Large Hadron Collider or the next version of that. Oops, accidentally created a black hole. Oops, accidentally sucked Earth into a black hole. We're basically dead as a species. It's gone. So that's not going to really happen. I mean, the particle accelerators don't really work that way. But there is anyone, North Korea figures out something nobody else could figure out and accidentally blows up half the planet. That would be bad.
They're currently working on the Mantle Melter 9000.
The moon's sort of escaping our orbit, but maybe somebody could blow up something in the moon to cause, the moon's orbit to decay. That would be really bad. That would be planet destroying. And because we only exist on planet Earth, we would be dead.
Talk about getting mooned. All right.
We don't want to get mooned. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody
getting mooned would be very bad for us.
Well, some people pay good money to get mooned.
That is true. There are plenty of people who pay good money to get mooned.
Moon, where did that term come from? Does your butt look like a moon? I don't understand. Where did the term moon?
Something about your dark side, your backside. Moon being on the dark side of the... I have no idea. I'm making shit up as we're talking about this.
All right, after this, we're going mooning.
Wait, what?
I don't know. Moonlighting is what I meant to say. It is a full moon, after all.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. So, this thing on the screen, let's talk about that. Big Auto searches for meaning beyond selling cars. And again, we have a thing where before, what the hell is wrong with me? I think the coffee is working. We have a thing now where everybody, they used to sell a device and give you the device and make their money, and your transaction was done and you own the device. Everyone is looking for a way to keep their hand in your pocket forever and sell you services. And so now we've got companies like Ford and GM and BMW. They're all, trying to figure out how to continue to offer you services. And we've got some interesting things going on here of sort of a shift in the way cars are sold. We have Ford now selling cars to groups of people. Like a group of people can get together and own a car, like share it between.
It's a timeshare for a car.
Like 7 or 8 people, yeah, kind of. And then you have other companies that are, you move into an apartment building, and then one of the amenities is like this apartment building comes equipped with 8 GMCs. And they're like, you have an app and you can schedule to use the GMC or whatever. It's like, okay, well, there's 150 people living here. We've got 8 GMCs. Like, okay, I guess.
I don't know. How often do you drive? I mean,
if it's in New York, that's great.
Yeah, New York would be interesting. One of the other things is that I was just thinking of here is that whole you buy something and it's yours. It's yours forever. Mm-hmm. Yay. But like this, we're recycling here by using these things as coasters since they decided to no longer work for us. But what about a car? I mean, how many cars are just thrown out and put into junkyards and then smashed up? And I mean, so much stuff that is being created just for the consumption and then the disposal of. I'm going to play the other side of this. Is these guys are trying to, not so much that they're trying to stick their hand in your pocket constantly, because that's what they've always been doing. Because they always want you to buy the latest model Ford, the latest model BMW, the latest model everything. So you always have to trade it in for something newer, better, stronger, faster.
You're still getting a new thing.
But if you were to have, if they went from, what if these companies went from making 1 million cars and selling it to 1 million people, and instead made 500,000 cars and created a self-driving car taxi service?
Well, that they're already doing that. So GM put $500 million into Lyft.
Yeah, well, I mean but they're trying to.
They also purchased Sidecar.
Yeah.
All the assets of Sidecar. So they're trying to get into the whole Uber game, Uber and Lyft and all that sort of thing. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work for them, other than they just manufacture a fleet of almost taxis that are, you use an app to, I don't know. Maybe if they're self-driving, I feel like in a few years when this is self-driving, yeah, then we can have just Ford will make a gazillion vehicles, and this may actually be good for the world. If they're all self-driving and they work, it'll fewer fatalities, and that's always a good thing. Fewer traffic accidents, fewer nonsense. Like you could go out and drink and not have to worry about driving drunk and that sort of thing. If we just had fleets of self-driving cars made by Ford and BMW and GM or whoever, and you just call them on your phone and they show up.
And they're constantly under maintenance. They're constantly being tuned, updated, and running more and more efficiently, I think would be the better way. Because then that ultimately that brings down manufacturing costs, because you're not making 10 million cars a year. You're only making as many as needed, and you're only replacing as many as needed. And maybe every 5 or 6 years you'll do a full refresh of the fleet. You'll have emissions will be down. I mean,
that could get kind of interesting, and I'm not actually against that idea. Uber is also really interested in self-driving vehicles. It's going to supplant a lot of jobs. Taxis in 10 years may be a thing of the past if we have really good self-driving fleets of self-driving cars. The current people who are making money on Uber may not be needed anymore. People who are on Lyft, they may not be necessary any longer.
The other side of this is that the expense of owning a car, everything from insurance to car payments to gas to all that maintenance, is going to drastically go down for everybody. So the need for the monetary need of people should ultimately decrease.
Now, let's talk about the other side of this. Can this stuff be hacked?
Of course. Well, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to get in a taxi cab, I'm going to plug in my laptop, and I'm going to make it so it doesn't charge me when it takes me wherever I go,
I'm talking about people hacking and being like, let's just run this one off a bridge, and then like if someone's hacking it. So someone's going to create an interface that looks like GTA 1 or 2, and they're going to drive around the self-driving cars and run over Elvis impersonators.
Killer robots. Right back to killer robots and
everything. See, as we get more connected, everything's going to be hackable, and this whole backdoor to encryption thing is going to become a very dangerous thing. Like, it may not seem as dangerous now, but once we have killer robots, self-driving cars, and it's all backdoored, we're in for it. We're in trouble. Mm-hmm.
Skeleton keys are only really great if there's only one.
Yeah, and then you have to trust the guy to be benevolent, whoever holds it.
Okay, this one I want one to lead into this one. The Microsoft
right,
says new
10.
Processors will work only with Windows 10. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay,
this is a very dramatic title, by the way. It's basically they're not going to update the old OSs for those CPUs, but they will technically work. Just they won't have the support in the, they won't receive updates. Anyway, go ahead, Wendell.
Let me dispel because this was all over the internet, and it was like, oh my god, this is, planned obsolescence, blah, blah, blah. No. Well, maybe. Well, not really, not in the way that you think. So, for desktop users, desktop processors, this is probably not going to really matter one iota for desktop users. The problem here is really a combination of things. It's a little bit of bit rot inside Windows, because there's a lot of stuff in the Windows kernel that frankly should have been fixed a long time ago. They're sort of trying to move in a more pragmatic direction, but the legacy of business customers that want to run 10-year-old software is sort of dragging Microsoft down, because they didn't exactly color inside the lines 10 years ago. Not that they didn't put in Herculean efforts to maintain backward compatibility with programs that used undocumented features and things like that. I mean, there's software vendors basically are not as skilled as Microsoft in general. Microsoft has had a lot of really sharp programmers working for it over the years. Like Windows 95 got a bad rep because there were a lot of programs that didn't work with it. But people inside Microsoft actually spent a lot of time making sure that programs would actually work on Windows 95, even when those programs had bugs of their own that always worked fine previously, but in a multitasking environment did not. Not to get too far off topic here, but SimCity is a really famous one. SimCity for DOS is a really popular game. It had some bugs. One of them was a memory allocation bug. When you're running SimCity in a multi-program environment, meaning there's multiple programs running on the computer, SimCity would free memory and then read the freed memory, which always worked fine on DOS because you can only run one program on DOS. But under Windows, SimCity was literally telling Windows, hey, I don't need this memory anymore. And Windows would say, okay, cool, I'll use another program for that. And then SimCity would go to read it and it would crash. It's like, oh, of course it's Windows' fault because it worked under DOS, but not Windows. There's a lot of stuff like that going on. And so Microsoft was like, no, we must, we've got the resources. We are going to power through this and solve this with sheer force of will. But there are a lot of people at Microsoft that were the junior people that are now the senior people. And they remember the horrors of those exercises during Windows 95. And this is happening now again, but not with software, with hardware. And a lot of it is because of the power management stuff in Skylake. So Skylake with mobile CPUs has been a real problem for Windows. Apple has absolutely run circles around Microsoft because of the Unix kernel underpinnings and because it's a relatively modern thing, although I think Apple is kind of neglecting the kernel engineering because they're putting all their top people on mobile because battery gains on mobile are even better than battery gains on a laptop. And so what's happened now is that Intel has finally delivered a part that has lots of really amazing, super awesome power-saving features and that Intel engineers have put their blood, sweat, and tears into, and it actually works really well, but we still don't have an operating system that can take advantage of it. And so what Microsoft is facing is that in order to be able to do all the cool stuff with Skylake, they've really got to do some crazy stuff inside the kernel, and supporting older CPUs is really problematic for them to get that full support. And so if you can imagine, if you've got a Skylake machine like the Intel Surface Pro 4 or the Surface Book, and you're going to try to run Windows 8 on that, the power management stuff is just not going to work. In fact, like if you have a Surface Book right now today, those devices are plagued with power management problems still to this day, and those things came out 3 months ago. And Microsoft is working on some kind of a fix that's some sort of major overhaul in the innards of the way that the kernel works. And the reason for that is because of cool stuff that we've talked about a little bit with the Skylake processors. One of them is like the Intel Speed Shift, which historically has been handled in software, which meant that it took, 60, 70 milliseconds for the thing to go from 800 megahertz, the power SIPI 800 megahertz to like the full 2.8 gigahertz. It would take a long time to do that. But now they can be done in hardware, and so it can be done in like 6 milliseconds. But the software has got to be able to support sort of going hands off and letting the hardware do its thing, and it's just not engineered to do that. And so this announcement where it's like, we're not going to be able to support older processors, that's why. Is so that you know, like if you're running Windows 10 and you get some newfangled processor that has newfangled features, they're not really going to support it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't run. It just means that potentially it's not going to run right. And that's why I say the desktop users are not going to be affected. It's like, oh, your CPU doesn't enter the lowest power state possible. Who cares? It's a desktop. But for a mobile device, the kind of problems that they've been having with the Surface Book and the Surface Pro are that the battery drain is 1 to 10% per hour when it's completely turned off. Like you shut it down, it's not hibernating, it's not suspended, you literally just turn it off. And the UEFI and the software is so bad or so not ready for the hardware that the battery will be dead overnight if you leave it. And so these are some of the fun things that Surface people have been experiencing. It's not there's anything wrong with the hardware, it's just the operating system is totally not ready, and so it's kind of funny.
History lessons. Put everything into perspective. And the sky is not falling. That's it.
Okay.
I also think it's funny that some of this is also to do with the integrated graphics, like handling integrated graphics, because Microsoft still has not figured out the whole hot plug PCI thing, which Apple's had on Thunderbolt for a while. And a lot of Windows problems there are around PCI Express devices. And again, kernel changes, again, probably stuff Microsoft should have been doing a long time ago, but they didn't. And so this is sort of the result of that. It's not a quick or easy fix to be able to do it.
They're a services company now.
I mean, the other thing I want to point out here is that they're saying that Windows 8 and I think it's 8, 8.1, and 7, they're not going to take the time and effort to utilize these pieces of hardware in newer CPUs and newer processors, newer chipsets and whatnot. They're not going to make them. They're not going to keep them updated. But then again, at the same time, when was the last time you tried to use Windows 95 with a Wi-Fi device? I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened. You can do it USB
if it's well, I'm thinking Windows 98 Service Pack 2.
98 Service Pack 2 can barely do it, and you have to really, really jam it in there. Windows 2000 could do it, but it required a lot of third-party software and including a bunch of nifty crap to get the Wi-Fi devices to actually operate. XP was the only one that had it built in.
Yeah, but the bottom line here is these are just processors. They're not actually. I mean, it's going to work on a desktop. It really is just it's pretty much going to work on desktop, pretty much.
The other relatively recent example of this already happening, like this, Microsoft has already behaved this way for the most part, is when we did the AMD 8350 video. So when the AMD 8350 came out, the way that processes are scheduled on CPU cores did not take into account that the CPU cores on an AMD 8350, it's an 8-core, but there's really 4 modules in the CPU. The scheduler in Windows did not take into account the fact that there were 4 modules, but 8 cores, 2 cores per module. And so when people would run benchmarks and play games and stuff with the 8350, the performance was really awful. And then about 3 months later, Microsoft came out with a patch that changed the way the scheduler works for Windows 7. But Windows 8 was, Windows 8, I think, had it from day one or from a very early time. But everybody hated Windows 8 at that time because Windows 8 was basically terrible. And so the AMD 8350 sort of got an unfair rep out of the gate because the performance was suffering because it didn't have the proper patches on Windows 7 to be able, like Windows was basically scheduling the processes the most inefficient way possible because it was making assumptions about the way that the CPU was architected that were incorrect. And they fixed that later, and then we did a video that was like, holy crap, our numbers are actually not awful. And people were like, no, you guys are just making crap up. And it's like, no, these benchmarks are old. These are new benchmarks. There's some software patches. This has been fixed in software. And people were like, you guys are nuts. What's going on?
All right, you guys ready to see a ridiculous machine? Check this thing out. This is a huge cluster of GPUs. Mostly the 7970s and a few other ones, but yeah. We got like 11 of these things.
That's one of 4 systems, I believe.
So anyway, this cluster of systems is running OpenCL, and they're able to crack any Windows password in about 5.5 hours. It's able to do 350 billion guesses per second.
Okay, now I wanna point out that it says it'll crack any Windows password
that's 8
in 5.5 hours. That's any minimum required Windows password, which is 8 characters, capital letter, lowercase, a symbol, and a number.
You do 16, 17, 20 characters with some weirdness in there, and this is going to be exponentially more difficult. It might take it 40 hours, 100 hours, I don't know, but it can still crack it if it wants to.
Well, it depends. If you get the LAN manager thing still turned on, it'll still only take it about 3 seconds. But there exists, there's a version of this, not with GPUs, where they do rainbow tables, where they pre-compute a bunch of things, and then from there, and it takes a huge amount of storage, but something like this plus a huge amount of storage is bad news for the Windows encryption algorithm.
All right, here's the 4U servers, 25 AMD cards, not 11, but 10 of the 7970s. That's where I got the 11 from, I don't know. But yeah, 7970s are still a beast for OpenCL. People mining Bitcoin, they still swear by the 7970.
Yep.
Just a beast.
Now, also, this isn't saying that it's going to break into your computer in 5.5 hours. It says that it will crack the password, which means that it's going to brute force the password until it gets one. And it can do that with any combination of an 8-character password, again, with lowercase, capital, number, or symbol, or lowercase, capital, number, and symbol. That's got to have all 4 categories. 8 characters. It can churn through the entire key space in 5.5 hours.
All right, let's take a look at some...
Which is really impressive, considering 5 years ago that would have taken 5.5 years.
All right, let's take a look at... well, I'll let you talk about this one quite a bit, Wendell. Microchip Technology just bought Atmel for $3.6 billion. We're seeing a lot of consolidation in the microchip market. We have Avago bought Broadcom. There's just a whole bunch of them. And Microchip Technologies has been buying up other smaller ones. They bought Supertex, Ecologic. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's anything to really talk about when we see consolidation in the microchip industries? I
Historically, Atmel and Microchip have been bitter competitors. I always thought that Atmel had a better product, but Microchip was a little easier and more accessible, although quite a bit slower. So, my experience with Atmel was even before the Arduino existed. Like, I came from Motorola microcontrollers, and while they were fun, it was like, yeah, 68,000, woo, this is great. Oh, I've got to build all my own stuff. Oh, it's like, oh, I've got onboard flash, but no onboard RAM. I guess I got to wire in my own RAM. Or, oh, I've got onboard RAM and flash, but now I have to wire in my own bus controller. And then flash memory. I don't know why, but it seemed like that Motorola took forever to adopt on-chip flash memory. And so the deal with these companies, the real bread and butter, is that they make teeny tiny, all-in-one chips that are basically an entire computer, RAM, ROM, EEPROM, peripheral I/O in one package, and you can do stuff with that. So they make microchips that have a built-in LCD controller and are like 40 pins, and you can wire it up to an LCD screen. It has analog input and serial input, a USB with another chip basically. So you can build lots of cool, interesting things with these. Since the Arduino was built around Atmel because Atmel was so flexible, it's 8-bit RISC microarchitecture, 1 instruction per clock. Typically, the parts are 16 megahertz. Microchip's architecture and stuff was a little less organized, a little less monolithic than Atmel, and so it's really interesting that Microchip has bought Atmel. I think Microchip had a much more diversified portfolio than Atmel historically. But I always thought that Atmel stuff was way more organized and way more polished, though not quite as well documented and not quite as user friendly until you get the hang of it. And then once you get the hang of it, it was really, really amazing stuff. And so you see Atmel and Microchip controllers on damn near everything. You see them on motherboards. You see them pretty much anywhere that you would need a general purpose computer for an application specific thing, that it's not a high enough production run that you want to do an application specific IC. So
this is a good buy
and have software upgradable through Flash or anything like that. So it's really interesting to see Microchip buy them.
Yeah, I wonder what this is going to do for the maker community, because Atmel is like, they're sort of the sweetheart of the maker community. They got their Arduinos and everything. I wonder if Microchip's going to change anything, or they're still going to run things as normal in that I guess, wing of their operations. I don't know.
If they could merge the... Go ahead.
Well, it might be the ARM is taking over, because Atmel had some 32-bit ARM parts, and those just never quite really took off as much as some of the ARM parts from Broadcom and some of the other bigger vendors. I feel like that Atmel just wasn't able to get their foot in the door with the 32-bit parts, but their 8-bit AVR microcontrollers were really, really super insane and super impressive. And if there had been a Raspberry Pi based around the 32-bit AVR core, then that would probably be something to talk about, and it probably would be less proprietary than the Broadcom controller in all actuality. But I also got the feeling that Atmel's prices were a little high for things like that, because they were trying not to price themselves out of the 8-bit market. But I think the inevitable may have happened with 8-bit microcontrollers.
All right, let's mention a quick game here.
I've been playing the crap out of this the last couple days.
I don't really play RTS games, but it's Homeworld, and Homeworld it's a pretty interesting universe. So this one also reminds me of Dune, just from watching some of the stuff. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
is it kind of like Homeworld meets Dune?
It's kind of. I mean, it definitely hits that. There's just a really big story that plays out with the Homeworld game that was always just like mind blowing, and this kind of tells it's a prequel to the Homeworld games, and it just kind of explains what happened prior to the Pride of Hagara and the mothership, the original mothership. It takes place that everything that led up to the first game. Like if you watch the intro to the first game, this explains the real story of what happened before the exodus of Kharak. And it is. The graphics are really great. It's very much in the same graphic layout of the remastered Homeworld game, and the story on it and what's happening in the single player. I haven't played multiplayer yet, but the single player campaign is pretty epic. It's got a couple of little details that I think could have been improved on, and I'll get into those later on. But ultimately, I think this is a good buy. I think I'm having a lot of fun with it.
It's getting really good reviews. So very positive on Steam as well. But yeah, the communities out there have been giving it some pretty good reviews. Anyway, that's a quick mention of in the video game segment. We've got WAS coming up, I believe, Monday. So stay tuned for that. And now we've got to go clean the house because they're showing it tomorrow. I'm really worried a little bit about people coming to see the house with us here, because we have a lot of computers. It's going to look. This looks kind of like. It looks like we're up to no good, because people who don't understand computers, she doesn't have a computer, I don't think. She has like an Apple thing. I'm not sure if that counts as a computer or not, like a tablet or whatever. But I think she's going to come in here, the landlord, and look around and be like, are you guys trying to like take over the moon or something? And in my original contract, she's like, it said you're not allowed to work from home. And I read the contract and I was like, I mean, I'm not allowed to work from home. What the hell is this? And she was like, I don't want you working from home because it's too much activity. And I was like, but I'm working from home. I was like, no. So she's like, all right, you can work from home, but no one's allowed to come to the house. I was like, fuck, okay, fine. So I signed this thing. Yeah, I know. I was like, what the hell? I've been living here. It's been really awkward, but I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't care anymore. I'm kind of almost, I'm worried, but at the same time, I'm like, it's going to be kind of funny to walk around and, this house, she's going to look around and it's going to be like, oh, this is where the bedroom used to be. I'm renting it, so it'd be like, what the hell's all this equipment? What are these 90 monitors in this room? What's going on in here?
It seems so normal until you start looking at it from a perspective of a non-computer person or somebody who's mundane. He's like, oh, I get up, I go to work in a desk job. We have a computer there. I type on it sometimes, but
yeah, I mean, a nerd will come over here and be like, damn, that's a lot of computers. Holy crap, that's a lot of computers, guys. You guys have a lot of monitors and a lot of computers and a lot of buttons and cords everywhere and microphones hanging from ceilings and stuff. That's a lot of stuff. But yeah, someone who doesn't do computers, like the UPS guy stuck his head into the house the other day and went, what the hell do you guys do? And I was like, get the fuck out right now. Like, I was like ready to punch the guy. I was like, get out right now. Like, you just leaned into my house. What's wrong with you? So...
Well, I mean, he delivers all this stuff to us all the time. So.
Yeah, I guess maybe at one point he's like, all right, this is the umpteenth box. Is that even a number? I don't know. So we'll let you guys know how that goes, because we're going to film WASD after we show the house. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're going to have it'll be fun, good times.
Showing the house without a place to go. Hey, it's lighting a fire under my ass, and the whole not caring thing. I think I like this, getting past the point of too much stress. And people are like, oh, no, that's not a good sign. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. Life's going to go on. I'm going to be happy. And I've gotten to that point where it's like, just throw your hands in the air and be like, just live. Stop stressing. So I'm done with the stress. That's it. I'm done with it. I've renounced the stress.
There you go.
Feeling better. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Thanks for all the support. It really helps. You guys are awesome. Keeping this stuff alive, man. And I think you guys do it because you know that it's all for the community. You guys know why we do it. And it's hopefully benefits the world in some way. If not, we're having fun anyway, right?
That's the idea.
That's the general idea. All right, Wendell, thanks for braving a blizzard. We'll see you guys.
Reserve power at 87%.